I am Marjorie Phoenix, and I want to welcome you to an author's reading and discussion, Being Left for Dead. This is the second Google Hangout discussion, and I want to use this platform in particular to, I'm sorry, another screen is coming up. I wanted to use this platform so that I can invite guests, other women, and we can have a very candid and open discussion about psychological and financial abuse. The reason I wanted to do this is because this particular layer of abuse doesn't seem to get as much attention as physical abuse does. We know that physical abuse it's rampant right now. Women are losing their lives. There's so much violence. And we can tell physical abuse because it shows up on our body in the marks and the scars and the violence that's going on. But with psychological abuse, it's different. People don't know how to detect it. They don't know how to respond to it. And so I think something needs to be done. We need to start talking about this, and we're going to start here. I feel like this is a great platform to be able to do it, to bring other women on who have gone through similar experiences, can come on and share their experiences with us. We're not experts, but we're just women that have all gone through something very traumatic. And what we can do with that is share what we've learned and hopefully be able to help other women so that they don't make some of the same mistakes. So the whole focus of this is education, awareness, and healing. This is where the education goes on when we do this. This is where the awareness goes on when we talk about this. And the healing can go on here too, as well. When we as women have an opportunity to talk and have others listen to us, a lot of healing can happen. The other places healing can also happen is I'm offering now a program called Pain in Print, which is a writing therapeutic program to help women journal their pain, get it out on paper, and help release some of that they have, the pain that they're holding on to. And if a book comes out of that, that's wonderful. Then we can go through the publishing process and bring their book into the world for other women, to help other women. Another place where healing can happen is at my Becoming retreats. They're going to be starting at the end of the summer, early fall. 3 days together where women get to heal mind, body, and spirit. Coming together and sharing your experiences, there's nothing more powerful than that. So this is an opportunity for us to gather together and really start a revolution on something. I mean, I think if we really start to come together in this way, we can break this cycle of abuse, because it's going to start with us. I know that there are men that go through emotional abuse. I've spoken with some of them. However, I can't speak to men. I speak to women. My focus is women that have gone through a traumatic divorce that has had some layer of psychological abuse and financial abuse. That's what I know. That's who I speak to. Last month, I was able to have 2 women on, and I want to thank thank them again for coming on. They read my book. One of them is a new friend. One of them is an old friend. One of them went through abuse in the past. One is going through it now. And these women came on and they shared their stories. And it took a lot of courage for them to be able to do that as we look closer at divorce and abuse. Next month, I'm going to have Amy on. Amy is a new friend. I met her on YouTube. She has a YouTube channel where she's sharing some of her experiences with her narcissistic ex-husband. And so when I looked at Amy's videos, when I viewed them, I just started to weep because she shared some things and I was like, that happened to me. That's the same thing that happened to me. I couldn't believe how we had shared a similar experience. So I'm so happy to be able to have her on. She was supposed to be on tonight, but there was a conflict. So she's going to be on Thursday, April the 16th at 7 p.m. So please, if you know anyone that's married to a narcissist who is going through divorce with a narcissist, please let them know about this discussion next month. And if you have questions, if they have questions, they can send that through to us ahead of time. And, you know, we can try to help as much as we can. But we feel like just bringing this discussion out is going to be so helpful. It's a big issue. So we've got to take it in chunks. And there's so much more we need to talk about. We're going to take it month by month here, and who knows where the discussions will end up. So that's what will be happening next month. But tonight, I will be reading from my book, an excerpt from a chapter in my book. My book is titled, Who the Hell Do You Think You Are? It's a memoir. You can find it on Amazon right now. And I wrote this book during my 15-month ordeal. And I started journaling. And then I started to put it in book form. And it took a while because it was difficult to keep reliving the situation as I'm editing and I'm going through it. It's very honest, it's very open. This is, my life is an open book here, literally. And so I share from the morning of my arrest to the day of my divorce. And what I'm going to be sharing with you is a part of what that abandonment looks like. When we talk about being left for dead, it's like being rejected and being abandoned, and what that feeling was for me after I spent a night in jail. And then on top of that, having to go to court a few days later and having the court system being used against me. So I'll go ahead and start reading from chapter 2 in my book right now, Who the Hell Do You Think You Are? The women's wing in the jail is a large open room with 6 rows of bunk beds and numerous cots lining the walls and floor. The walls and floors are white and the space is cold. The place is crowded with women sitting on hard plastic chairs and picnic benches, all looking up at the glaring television on the wall. With an open shower and laboratory area, there is no privacy. Once I settle on my cot on the floor, it starts to sink in that my freedom has just been taken away from me, and it was all orchestrated by the man I loved. Mealtime was the worst time for me. My stomach was sending me signals that it could not tolerate food. I sit looking down at my plastic tray with a sandwich, an apple, and a pasty substance I can't identify. I look at my food and break down. This would give the others at the table the assumption that I did not want my food and the opening to help themselves to it. All the questions I tried to suppress to keep myself from falling to pieces flood my mind. Why did he do this? What will happen when I go home? Can I go home? Why, God? Are my girls all right? What will happen to me? I try to find a way to put it all together of what has just happened to my life. The icebreaker in the room is the same question: why are you here? When I tell them my story, they laugh. Apparently, there is common knowledge of this maneuver. It is used often when there's divorce pending. Get the other person out of the house with a charge like simple battery, and you have the courts on your side. I'm being informed by more than one inmate that I will not be allowed back into my home. This is hard to believe, since I have nowhere else to go. There's a trend in this place with mostly single mothers, and most being here because of a situation with a man. Many do not know where they will lay their heads once released. They had no plans or hope for the future. If only I had known Jeremiah 29:11 as well as I do now. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you hope in a future. I would have shared it with them. I make a last-ditch effort and place a collect call to my husband. But my call is rejected, and so am I. As heartbroken as I am, for me, that is the nail in the coffin. Yet, there is a part of me that is thankful for my release from the marriage. If only it had not been in such a dramatic way. The entire day, I'm watching the clock on the wall, counting the minutes, wondering what my girls are doing, and praying for night to come quickly, because morning would not be too far behind. I settle on the floor, cover myself with the sheets, and cry in and out of sleep all night. The next morning, I'm handcuffed along with a few other inmates, female inmates, to appear before the judge. The women are housed in a smaller area off from the larger quarters from the men. En route to our hearing, we had to walk past a large glass window that gave view to their spacious accommodations. In a small room we're seated, then followed by the men. There are at least 12 of us in the room with 4 deputies and a television screen. When my name is called, I stand facing a camera and the television where I can see the judge. She reads my charges and informs me that I am not allowed to go within 500 feet of my home or my husband, pending a trial date. I am then released on my own recognizance. The other inmates had all been right. I'm being released, and the female deputy that processed me in yesterday is also processing me out. As she escorts me out to the main gate, she says to me, I don't know why you were here, but sometimes God whispers to us in a loud way. I'll never forget those words. As the large barbed wire gate closes behind me, I walk a deserted road with just the clothes on my back, shoes on my feet, my wallet in my hand, not sure where I'm going. Laughing and crying and thinking just 2 days ago, I was in the comfort of my own home, and now I'm walking the streets of a small town where I have no family. When I think about that moment of that barbed wire fence closing behind me, I can still remember it so vividly like it was yesterday. This feeling of smallness that I had. I'm on a deserted road, the jail to the back of me, and this huge gate closing. And I'm out there. And literally, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's about to happen. I think about when a small child, imagine what a small child would feel like if their parent left them, just left them alone in a sea of people in a crowded place where they knew no one. They had no idea where to go, what to do. They were out there on their own. They were abandoned. And that's how it feels. And the reason I use that is because women want security. We may not know it at the time. But when we choose a mate, when we choose a partner, we choose a man that we look at as our protector. He will watch over us. And on that is how we build our security. We create a home and a space with this man and our children. And that's our sphere of security. And the rest of the world is out there. And that's what my family was for me. And when the person that you look to as your protector all of a sudden turns on you, pulls the rug from under you, and abandons you like that in such a way, you start to question security, what real security is. I write in my book how I had a false sense of the good life. I had a false sense of security. And so when something like that happens, it leaves you questioning what real security is. One of the things that happened after this is that I automatically go looking for my child. She was 6 at the time. I'd been a stay-at-home mom up until that point. And so I go looking for my daughter, and I go to the school, and the stage had already been set. The picture had been painted. A restraining order was in place that I didn't know about, so going to the school had already put me in jeopardy of going back to jail. I was being painted as the abuser. I was being accused of harming our child. I was being accused of being sick or something was wrong with me. And I go to the school, and the police are called, and DCF are called. And my child sees me, but she can't come to me, and I can't come to her. And heartbreaking, humiliating situation. And that's what happens, because the time that I was away in jail, well, before I even went to jail, before the scene was set for me to be arrested, plans were being made. And that's what they do. They prepare. You have no idea. You have no idea what's about to happen. I didn't know what I was doing. So that shows you one part of what that abandonment will look like. Finding a way to isolate you and take you out of the picture and take you down and literally leave you for dead. So at that point, I had to leave the school and then go to find out there was no money in the bank accounts. Everything was closed. I had nothing. At that moment in time, within 24 hours, I was left homeless and penniless. I want to talk a little bit about what this starts to look like, these characteristics of someone that will do something like this to you. And again, I said, I want to do these discussions because I want there to be more education and more awareness. And for those of you that are listening, some of you may already been women that have been in these marriages, you've had these experiences. But there are a lot of young girls right now that are experiencing emotional abuse, and they're not realizing it. In fact, there is a young girl right now in her 20s, and she's explaining her situation to me. She's in a relationship with someone, and he is manipulative. And she knows she needs to separate and get out of the relationship, but she can't. And part of the reason she can't is because she's become comfortable. She's become comfortable in an uncomfortable place. We can become emotionally addicted to that type of personality after There's something that keeps us attached. Even when we know something's not right, we still tend to stay. And we make excuses for the person. What I explained to her was that at such a young age, what she's doing is, first of all, she's giving him permission to treat her this way. She's allowing him to do this. So we show people how to treat us by allowing them to mistreat us. So she's doing that, but she's also nurturing and fostering a potentially abusive man, that this can escalate. And I bring this up, and I talked to her about this because I saw the signs myself when I was dating my ex-husband. And a lot of it I thought was immaturity. And that's how she saw it. And at first, when we talked about it, that's what it seemed like. But then, as time went on, and he would do it more and more, and then he would try to just apologize or buy gifts, but not change his behavior. And there was still this disrespect, this manipulation, this form of talking that's not, appropriate. I realized there's more to this. And this can become a lot worse over time if you don't nip this in the bud. You've got to have the courage to be able to do it now. So before you lose your sense of self, before you become so comfortable in this, that you won't even be able to recognize something better at such a young age. So I see that happening with young women. And that's why we need to take this discussion to them, and we need to start educating them on some of these characteristics and behaviors of women like this. And here's what's so interesting. As I've spoken to women over the past couple of years since my experience, these men all do the same thing. It's the same playbook. It's interesting that I can talk to a woman and think, oh my gosh, that happened to me, that happened to you, that happened to her. How is this happening? And people are talking about this. Women are being psychologically abused and abandoned, left for dead. And people aren't talking about this. Them, their children, these men are using the court system to continue their abuse. It breaks my heart when I see that happening to women. So my story is not unique. It's not. There are more and more women that are experiencing this. On top of that, when these women are abandoned, when these situations are happening, there is a lack of resources. There's nothing in the community to support these women. Legal funds are being cut in the budget. There aren't many attorneys that will take divorce cases pro bono unless they believe there's some big payoff. They're not going to be able to go into domestic abuse shelters, because the man hasn't literally hit them. So what do you do? And then there are people that don't really understand psychological and financial abuse. They don't get it. It's one of those things, sometimes it's hard to detect. It's hard, even you as the woman, you're questioning what you're going through. Excuse me. So there's so many tentacles that this thing has that's affecting women, and that's affecting their children. And it's really got me sort of pissed off in a way when I see this happening. So I want to see more discussion, and solutions on what needs to happen here. My book, when I, after I wrote it and I published it and people started reading it, women were coming up to me and they saw. And I got my cues from them about how they wanted to see this discussion go. And so I'm very proud of the book to know that, that it's helping women in some way. If you just take little pieces of my story, use the examples of my mistakes and where did I go wrong, and there's so many. Then I feel like we can help. We're making a difference in some way. So I'm going to pick up the next part of the reading where I'm in court and how the psychological abuse can continue there. Within the next few days, I'm standing in a hallway full of people at the county courthouse. I'm huddled in a corner with my oldest daughter, girlfriend, and attorney. When I turn to look out the window and see my husband walking up the steps with his mother and attorney, I'm seized by an anxiety attack and become emotional. My girlfriend grabs hold of me. Don't you dare let him see you crying. Snap out of it. We're together. You can do this. I don't feel well put together right now. I'm wearing a baggy pair of brown slacks with a white blouse and an oversized polyester blazer someone gave me. My hair is pulled back in a ponytail and I have on no makeup. I feel and look a mess. I keep my back turned to them until the doors are opened and we're allowed into the courtroom. We're the second case called. Both sides give their account of the event. Then photos of bruises on my husband's arms, along with photos of all the torn wedding pictures scattered on the floor are presented. I'm sucker punched. Where did these bruises come from? Why are pictures scattered on the floor when I had thrown them into the trash? And most importantly, why were all these photos taken after the police left? If I had harmed him, why did he refuse medical attention or not show the marks to the officers? I whispered in my attorney's ears that these have got to be self-inflicted wounds. He has this look on his face like, really, you want me to say that? He's right. Unbelievable. I sit back and listen as the two attorneys go back and forth. My mental and emotional instability is brought up and how I suffered from anxiety attacks, needing medication. What wasn't told that it was in my 20s before my first child was even born, before we met and were married. I had not experienced an attack for over 20 years until the day of this incident. There's also the fact that I occasionally enjoy a glass of wine or two. So now I'm an alcoholic. And the most grotesque accusation is that I harmed my child during our argument at the house that night. It's being implied that I'm a danger to her, and they're asking for supervised visitation. Right away, my attorney called my oldest daughter to the stand to have her refute the claims, since my youngest was in her presence during the entire episode. Never in my life have I felt so attacked. The personal challenges I shared with my spouse during the course of our marriage, along with the intimate talks we've had together over drinks in the privacy of our home, are all being used against me. I'm shocked when the judge rules that there will be a 1-year restraining order in place, keeping me 500 feet away from my husband and home. Our communication pertaining to our child will be via Family Wizard, a court-ordered secure email program that the attorneys and judges can access. The humiliation doesn't stop there. I'm also ordered to undergo a substance abuse and mental health evaluation. The judge did, however, grant me access into the home today to gather all my belongings and retrieve the family car from my use. As grateful as I am for that, the only real blessing that came out of today is, as of next week, I will see my child after 30 days apart. It is decided that our time together will be one evening a week and every other weekend. I've now gone from being a full-time mother to barely a part-time mother. I walk out of the courtroom feeling like I've just been stripped naked, just as I did that day at my daughter's school. I wasn't prepared for this. I did not prepare to go into court and to be attacked in such a way and to see the court system be manipulated in such a way against me. You know, if someone had told me, even the day before all of this happened, that my husband was going to do what he did, I would have been so insulted. And I would have defended him. I would have said, no way. I know he can be mean-spirited, but he would not go that far. He went that far. They will go that far. They'll leave you for dead, literally. Don't try to be the rational one and the logical one. I thought I could be that. I thought I could say, I want a divorce. I don't want the house. I won't come after you for this or that. Make this amicable. And I was so naive because that gave him enough time to use everything he had in his arsenal against me. You cannot be naive when it comes to dealing with someone who's already been manipulating, been threatening, been using some form of abuse against you. They will do whatever they can to destroy you. This is why we need to continue this conversation. And there are so many different aspects to this. I'm just talking about one part of it right now, which is the abandonment, which is the use of the legal system. But there's also looking at your attorneys and who you're choosing to represent you to go to war with someone like that. The time that I spent in jail, that gave him enough time to lawyer up, take all the resources away, lawyer up big time, and leave me with nothing. And that's what's happening to women. They're stripped of their home, everything. And the husband lawyers up, has all the money, has all the assets, and just leaves them there. And something's got to be done. We can't do anything about someone's actions, but we can do something about preparing for these things, about being smarter with these things. And I want us to start thinking more strategically and, really not making the same mistakes that I made and I know a lot of women have made. So we got to look at the legal aspects of all of this. There's also issues with the church and how is the church responding to couples when there's a victim of emotional abuse. Not only was I rejected and abandoned by my husband, but my church, I write about how I reached out to my pastor and he never picked up the phone to call me, to even pray with me after my years of service at that church and time of counseling with my ex and I. So it's not just that, but there's the whole religion. Women are, especially if they live a life that they live by the Bible, they're very religious, they're trying to do the right thing, they want to submit to their husbands, and yet they're falling under this tyranny. One thing that I know that happened, I saw it right away, and I had to stop was I decided that I was going to be this reflection of love, and I was going to submit No matter how he came at me, I was going to be meek and mild and gentle and not push back and not defend myself. And I kid you not, the more I did that, the more it empowered him to do what he wanted to do and treat me the way he wanted to treat me. So that is not going to work. Praying your way through it, not in a situation like that. So you've got that aspect with the church and religion, how how you're dealing with emotional abuse with that, and then there's parenting. How do you learn to parent, co-parent with someone like this? How do you handle a situation with your children when you're going through this? All of this can cause you to be, mentally drained, physically tired, and spiritually just broken. And when you have all three of those areas that are starting to break down on you like that, you can't make good decisions. You can't make the right choices. And it just wears you out. So again, this is just the beginning. It's because this is such a big topic, we're going to take this a little bit at a time. And I want to encourage you that if you have questions or if there's a specific topic relating to psychological and financial abuse and divorce that you want to talk about, that you have us like to see us talk about, maybe there's a guest, please reach out to me, marjoriephoenix@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. And again, the book, Who the Hell Do You Think You Are, is on Amazon right now. And I invite you back next month on Thursday the 16th as I have a discussion about divorcing a narcissist with my guest Amy. And we continue this discussion together. So thank you so much for joining me tonight, and God